He got his start driving in both the Busch North Series and the Vermont-based American-Canadian Tour Series. Success came in his home state, where he scored 3 victories at Vermont's Thunder Road International Speed Bowl and its famous Milk Bowl race in 1985, 89, and 93. His local success led him to make his Busch Series debut at Oxford Plains Speedway in Maine in 1986. He ran 350 Xfinity races over 21 years, scoring 2 victories and 51 top 10s, 201 Cup Series races, primarily for Jack Roush in the 16 car and Morgan McClure in the 4 car. Kevin Lepage joins us. Kevin, welcome to the show.
Hey, Miles. Thanks for having me.
Absolute pleasure to have you here. Let's jump right into things. And for the listeners listening, tell us, how'd you catch the racing bug, Kevin?
Well, it's a long story. We probably don't have all that time, but a long story short, my dad had a towing service in Vermont, and we used to go to a local racetrack called Catamount Speedway in Milton, and I just fell in love with the place. And in 1975, he bought a race car and put my older brother in it, and I started driving in 1980. And from that point on, I just, honed my skills and got better and owned my own race team and decided to make a move down south.
Excellent.
Nice. You being a fellow New Englander, you had a lot of success at Thunder Road. Tell us what you liked about that track most.
I just, it was one of those racetracks that just, fit my driving skills. I like racing on the outside, like passing on the outside. And it was a thinking racetrack. You had to finish the race in order to win. And so we just wanted to make sure we kept the fenders on it all day long and all night long. And, one of the highlights of my career was winning the Milk Bowl 3 times and had a couple seconds in it. So, it was just one of those racetracks that I just fell in love the first time I was there and ended up, winning a bunch of races there.
Well, speaking of actually the 3 Milk Bowl wins, tell us some stories or something that really sticks out with you and something that really sticks out to you about Thunder Road.
Well, I would think that the last Milk Bowl I won in 1993, I also won the Milk Cup that same day, which was in a lower class sportsman division. And till today, I'm the only driver in its history to win the Milk Cup and the Milk Bowl in the same day. And, that was just a special feat. In the Milk Bowl, I started 10th and won the first segment, started 24th, finished second in the second segment, started 23rd, finished second in the third segment. And, that was a lot of running back and forth between cars. And I think I ran... I think it was 210 laps between both races, so it was quite a long day for me. Didn't have much time in between to talk to the crew, so the crew guys, on both cars did a tremendous job getting the car ready for the next race, and, it's just a very special day for me.
Excellent. You made your Busch Series debut up at Oxford Plains in Maine in 1986, finishing 15th for Norseman Racing in the 09 Buick. What do you remember about your debut, and what do you remember about Oxford Plains?
Well, actually, the stats are not really up to date. I started in NASCAR. It was NASCAR North back in 1980, and then in 1985, it split ACT and NASCAR, and so that was kind of the program really, doesn't show what really happened. But my actually first NASCAR race was in 1980. But the 1986 race at Oxford was the first one they started counting in NASCAR. And it was a good race. The Deering brothers, Norseman race team, gave me a break after my dad shut his race team down in 84. And they hired me in 85 and 86. And at the end of 86, we went to Atlanta and run an ARCA race down there. And those guys taught me a lot, both on and off the racetrack, on what it was to be a good race car driver. And, I really give a lot of my credit to my success to those two guys.
Alrighty then. In 1996, you scored your first of 2 Busch Series wins, running that season with Riddling Motorsports. You finished 8th that season in points. What do you remember about that season?
Well, it was actually kind of ironic. I started the season with my own race team, and after losing the Vermont Teddy Bear sponsorship, and I told my team that I would run the first 8 races before I'd make a decision if we were going to continue or not. We're still trying to find sponsors. Well, I think it was the 3rd or 4th race that year. I was in Atlanta, and I think I blew the engine. And as I'm in my hauler getting changed, I looked out and I saw the driver of the 88 car walking through the garage area with 4 shocks in his hands. And I'm like, man, I didn't hear no accident or anything. Something must have happened to his car. Well, about 2 seconds later, David Riddling came over to me and he says, hey, can you take my car out? My driver says it's driving really evil, and I'd like you to, go out there and see if you can tell me what's wrong with it. So I got in the car, and David's driver, Pete Orr, was about 6 foot tall. I'm only 5'9", so we had to adjust the steering wheel and, work on the seat belts. And finally we got going down Pitt Road, and the spotter came over the radio, and he says, the leaders are just coming off turn 4. And I got up to speed on the backstretch, and David come over the radio and said, all right, Kevin, just take it easy. Just try to find out what's wrong with this car. And, I mean, this car was a rocket ship. And David says, well, what do you think? And I said, man, this thing's flying. I said, do you want me to come in? He goes, no, stay out there. So I finished the race for him. And 3 weeks later, our last race at Bristol, we couldn't find sponsorship, so we were going to make the decision that we were going to shut the team down. And Ray Smith and David Riddling came to my hauler, and they said, we need to meet tomorrow. Ray Smith was director of Chevrolet Motorsports, and he said, we need you to meet with David tomorrow. He said, they want you to drive the 88 car the rest of the year because Pete Orr quit during the race at Bristol. And from that point on, we had a lot of success that year. We went to Homestead. We made an announcement that Hyper Energy Drink was going to be on the car. And we had a fast race car that day and won my first race.
Excellent. So 1997, you made your Cup Series debut for LJ Racing, first missing your home race in New Hampshire, and then a 40th place finish at Charlotte, but a respectable 17th place finish at Talladega. Talk to us about those early Cup days and driving for LJ Racing.
Well, at New Hampshire, they gave me a call to go up there, and we were like, probably 15th, 18th during practice. And when we went out to qualify, I nailed 1 and 2, and actually we found all this stuff out after the race, but I was like, after all the cars that qualified, I was like 5th or 6th fastest car through 1 and 2. Well, what happened is that carried all that momentum down the backstretch, and I got into 3 and never had carried so much speed before. I missed the corner and ended up missing the race. So Joe said to us, he said, me and Doug Richards, my crew chief, he says, we were so impressed with the way the car ran, we're going to go to Charlotte and test. And if you have a good test, we'll go for the Charlotte race. So we go down there and test, and after the end of the night, we were the second fastest out of 38 cars. So we go down to the race at Charlotte, and I think we qualified top 15. And Saturday morning, the first lap on the racetrack, we're going, just going to break in our race motor. I come off turn 4 going down straightaway, going into turn 1, and that thing turned sideways, and I backed it in the wall and killed the car. Well, come to find out, Joe Nemechek had just went through the corner in front of me, and they left their oil plug out of the rear end, and it oiled down the racetrack. And NASCAR back then didn't have enough track spotters and stuff, and didn't see it. And Joe was driving for Felix Sabates. So what they did is they went and got a car from Wally Dallenbach, who missed the race. It was actually the same car that Wally missed the race, and we brought it to the racetrack and we swapped seats and stuff. Well, that car was the worst piece of crap race car I ever driven in my life. That's why Wally couldn't drive it, and that's why we finished 40th. I mean, it was so evil to drive, and then we, got our stuff back together, and we went to Talladega, and we had a decent run down there. So, a lot of people don't know the whole stories of the few races that I were in, but that's a few of them right there.
Cool.
All right, so in 1999, you got a Busch win at Bristol. Tell us a little bit about that win, and also what it was like to race at Bristol at that time.
Well, we had a really fast channel lock Chevy that night, and had a couple breaks throughout the evening. There was a big wreck towards the end, and I was fortunate enough to drive through it and not hit anything. And we had a 5-lap restart right behind Dale Jarrett, and I knew after we went green that his car was real tight. I knew after about 10 laps my car got tight, so I had to jump on him as quick as I could to get by him, and pulled the task off getting into 3 and went on to win the race. And the next day I ran the Cup car with Jack Roush, and we finished 10th. And it was just a solid weekend for me. I always loved Bristol, especially the old Bristol racetrack. Again, it reminded me a lot of Thunder Road, and it was a driver's racetrack. So just a very special night for me there.
Excellent. 98 also led you to drive for Jack Roush in the 16 car. You had a pair of top 10s in 98 in the Cup Series at Bristol and Charlotte before running full-time in 99 and 2000 for Jack. What stands out about your time running for Jack?
Well, a couple different things. When we first went there, I was told that, it was a 5-car team. We were open book. I could go to any crew chief, any driver, any car chief. I could get all the setups, look at the springs, the shocks, the sway bars, the aero stuff, anything I needed. And after we finished 10th, our second race together at Bristol, all that changed, and everything was confidential. There was a few guys in the organization that were a little jealous because we had such a strong run in a short period of time that they thought that, we were getting better stuff and everything else, which we weren't, because our car was up in Liberty, North Carolina versus Martin and Jeff Burton's car was in Mooresville. So we still had to fend for ourselves. It was Johnny Benson and myself up there, and but we just had a really good working relationship. And, we did have a little help when we could look at their shocks and stuff, but all that went away. And so, from the third race on, we were basically on our own, and, we had to fend for ourselves, so to speak. And but we learned a lot. We had some really good races. We had some strong runs. We had some bad luck. We had some driver errors. But, all in all, it was a good experience for me.
All right. Yeah, 2001 brought you to Morgan McClure, replacing Robbie Gordon, starting in Bristol in the spring. Talk to us about running most of the season with McClure Racing.
Well, we tried to they tried to get me in that car a few weeks earlier. Robbie had a good lawyer and a good contract, and so they were battling it out. But we ended up starting there, and we had a solid team for being so far out of main hub of racing. Being up in Abington, Virginia, versus being here in the Mooresville, Charlotte area. We had to work extra hard. get more information, call in information from our friends and try to get some better people to travel 2 hours, up into Virginia to work every day, So it was a challenge, but, we made the best of it. We made transition from Chevrolets to Pontiacs, which was a big transition. We had some really fast race cars. And again, we had some bad luck. We had some really crazy things that went on, and, we struggled as an organization at certain places, and other places we excelled.
So my question is, I have to know this. This was in 2008 at the Aaron's 312. When the pack was coming up on you during the blend rule, what exactly happened, and how did the big wreck get caused?
Well, it's $1 million question, and 1 million people don't understand it, don't know it, but I'll explain it to you. From the time I moved down here in '94 and started racing on the speedways, the rule was when you leave pit road, you keep your left side tires on the yellow line.
Gotcha.
And you blend in on the backstretch. So that particular day, we were coming off pit road, and my spotter said, pack's coming, make sure you keep your left side tires on the yellow line, which what I was doing. And the first handful of cars went by me, and Carl Edwards decided he was going to fill the gap because he saw movement. He was going to go to the bottom of the racetrack. Well, there I was. The spotter never mentioned to him that there was a slow car on the bottom coming out pit road. And Jerry Punch, who was calling the race, and Bill Jarrett was dumbfounded on what happened. Why would Carl make a move like that? So as they were getting ready to go back to TV, live TV, NASCAR came in and said, Kevin pulled out in front of the pack. And Jerry Punch says, no, that's not what we saw. That ain't what happened. And NASCAR said, yeah, that's what happened. And the only reason I know this conversation is because Monday morning Jerry Punch called me to apologize because he made me look like an idiot. And he said, I went back
Talk about getting
that
thrown
night.
under the bus.
Well, yeah, you're right. It did, literally. And I need Carl Edwards' car. He went back to his hotel, and he watched the drivers' meeting, which these announcers get copies of the drivers' meeting so they can talk about it on TV when they need something to talk about. And Joe Ballas, who was the tour director at the time, said, "All right, guys, don't forget when you leave pit road, leave the left side tires on the yellow line and blend on the backstretch." And so Jerry Punch, he knew what I did, that I was right, but they wanted to make a big deal about it, and so unfortunately, the media, like you said, threw me underneath the bus, the tractor trailer, and anything else you want to talk about. But
the whole track.
I know what happened, and when people like yourselves ask me what happened, I'll tell you the truth. And
I appreciate that.
You can go back and look at 15 years of racing, and I mean they even still do it today. For a while there they moved them so you had to stay all four tires below the yellow line, but now they're back to the left side. So I mean it was a rule that's been in place for years. Unfortunately, it took an incident like that to made it a big deal, but it I'm not going to say it bothered me because I knew what I did. It was just a shame, for NASCAR to stoop that low to throw me underneath the bus because their premier driver made a mistake because the spotter didn't tell him what was going on.
Absolutely.
That was great.
That was good.
That was
excellent to get your side on that, Kevin. So as we kind of head towards the checkered flag here in this interview, just a couple of quick questions for you. First off, since stepping away, what have you been up to? And also, if the opportunity presents itself, would you get back in some type of car?
SRX?
Well, I stepped away in 2014 was my last race. 2016, I think it was, or 17, I went back to Barrie, Vermont, Thunder Road, to run my last race. Unfortunately, I didn't qualify for the race. We had some car issues. So technically, I haven't finished my career in a race car. I haven't run my last race. Now, the SRX deal, that would be a cool deal. I know that they're going to Stafford. I know they're going to Thunder Road.
Yeah,
we'll be there.
We'll be there both.
But, do they want a Kevin Lepage? I don't know. I've got some friends that work at the race shop for the SRX team, and I've mentioned it to them. I've mentioned it to Don Hawk, who's running the organization now. But if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. I'm playing a lot of golf now. I retired in August of last year. I used to own a landscape business, and I'm just enjoying life right now. But would I like to run one of those cars one more time? Yeah, I mean, if it was either at Stafford or Thunder Road, it would be cool. But I'm not going to hold my breath on it.
Cool. All right, and the final question that we ask each of our guests we've had on here is, when it's all over, your time here on Earth is up, how do you, Kevin Lepage, want to be remembered to the racing fans?
I'm going to say a guy that always had a smile on his face, always gave back, was always there for an autograph if needed. Because I've always said to people, they said, what's your favorite racetrack? And I've always said, whichever one had a grandstand full of people. When we used to race on Mondays or Tuesdays, because of rainouts, I mean, it was totally different. It was terrible. When we got out to the car, there was nobody in the grandstand. I mean, a handful of people, but not like a packed grandstand. And, when the race was over with, there was nobody there, nobody cheering you or whatever. Nobody's coming up, offering, wanting autographs or, giving you compliments what kind of job you did. So, I just wanted to be remembered for, being a good racer, a clean racer, and gave back.
Absolutely.
There was a lot of things that we did in my career that we don't have enough time to talk about. A lot of special moments, and, met a lot of great people.
Well, the invite is certainly open any time for you to come back on the show, Kevin. An absolute pleasure to have you on here tonight. And look forward to talking to you and seeing you at a racetrack down the road here. Appreciate the time. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you for having me. And looks like you guys got some cold weather coming, so you guys stay warm up there.
Yeah, we will.
Appreciate it.
We know how to do it up here.
Kevin Lepage joining us.